What is up, everybody? I'm Ty Slim, and welcome to Ty Slim Vlogs. This is my hairstyle today. If you like it, comment. If you don't like it, comment. But this is where I'm at. Today we got a little pressure washer video for you today. I picked this baby up for 50 bucks, along with a bunch of stuff actually from somebody in a storage unit. So either way, this is definitely going to be worth 50 bucks because it is a Honda motor. These things will outlast the apocalypse, and so if anything, I'll have a good Honda motor to keep myself going when everything hits the fan here soon enough. But I ran this thing off just gas in the carburetor, so I know it runs, but it won't stay running on its own. So probably going to go through the carburetor and get this running. The pump did make pressure. It seemed like it was leaking some oil, but we'll get this thing running first and then go from there. The wheel bearings are smoked. I already took them out, so I'll get some wheel bearings for those eventually. So let's get into it. First thing I'm going to do is actually probably just drain the gas because it smells terrible, and then I will look in the float bowl in the carburetor and kind of see and assess and go from there, and then probably just tear it down, clean it up, fire it up. First, I'll pop the air cleaner off to get better access to the fuel line that hooks to the carburetor. Next, I'm going to remove these 310 millimeters to remove this plastic piece here so I can get some more, even better access to the drain line here. I'm just going to sneak that out here. Now that I have good access to the fuel line here, I'm going to pinch it off so it doesn't leak everywhere. Take my favorite curved pliers here, get on the retainer clip, retaining clamp, work it up over if you can. Do this and work the fuel line up over. I'm not getting any dribble since I clamped it off. I'm going to put my drain pan underneath so I don't make a big mess, and then come off my green shutoff, and then just drain the fuel into a drain pan. And that's what the fuel looks like. So it's so cloudy and murky. This fuel's been in there for a long time, I assume, so it's no good. I'm going to get rid of this fuel and then keep continuing on this carburetor. Now that I got all the gas drained out, I'm actually going to take my syringe and get way down deep in the tank, even suck out all the very remaining fuel. So I'm probably 100% going to have to remove this carburetor, but I'm just going to take the bowl off and see what it looks like. The bowl doesn't want to come off. Just give it a couple taps. Peel it down. Try not to damage the gasket since we're going to reuse it. Oh man, and as suspected, that thing is cooked. So we're going to have to take the carburetor off. Now to get this carburetor off, there was just these two nuts that I had already taken off, and then you just pull your gasket off here and you pull it out a touch, and then you got to remove these governor springs. So First you want to remove the linkage. It just sits in this little groove here. You can't really screw it up. And then there's the governor spring. And you just ever so lightly pull it. Don't bend it or break it. Just kind of take it out of its little hole. Pop that out, and then your carburetor's off. And put it on your workbench and let's tear it apart. Now that we got our carburetor off, I already had the bowl off, but it's a 10 millimeter. And let me show you what it looks like. Be careful with the gasket. Look at that. That is all grody and ethanol up. So it's all jelly, so this gas has been in there for a long time. So we're going to have to go through this carburetor. I mean, they make stuff you can soak these in, but I'll probably just use brake cleaner and clean it all up, take it apart, and reassemble. I'm going to start by taking the float out, and look at this. That's just all gelled ethanol fuel crusted up in there. You can see it just flaking off. So start by taking this little pin out. Push this pin either way it wants to come. Pull this pin out. Take the float out. And here's the needle. It sits down in this groove. This is a plastic needle, so be careful. And it's got a spring. The spring's free. We're just going to leave it in there for now. And we're going to look at our orifices here. There's a jet down in there that looks completely plugged. We'll take a screwdriver and we'll try to get it out if it'll come out. It's coming out freely, which is nice. Whoa, jet went flying. Got it. And behind the jet here's your pilot jet. And there's a bunch of holes in here. It'll focus. And those are, you should be able to see daylight through, and it looks like I can't. So these are all plugged, so I need to run a little piece of wire through these. So here's a little piece of wire. I'm going to run it through the holes. Make sure they're clear. And they're going through, but not easy, so they were plugged up. If those are plugged up, there's going to be no fuel getting through those. No fuel, no fire, no engine run. So those are all clear. When I get the brake clean out or carburetor cleaner, whichever you're going to use, I'll spray that and then I'll blow compressed air through those as well. Just run your wire through any hole you can in this carburetor. And I'm going to have to scrub this thing down pretty good since it's really nasty. I'm going to fill that up with some carburetor cleaner and even take a little brush or a little pipe cleaner I really just want to get that bowl all free and cleaned up of all that gross fuel that's been sitting in there for eternity. They make sonic cleaners and stuff, and even like a little bucket you could let stuff soak in, but I don't have any of that, so I'm just going to clean it up, spray it out, use compressed air to blow it out. You should wear gloves too if you do stuff like this. You don't want this brake cleaner soaking into your skin. But this is non-chlorinated, but it still doesn't matter. It dries out your hands. This isn't a carb rebuild. This is just a carb clean. While this is dry, I'm going to try to scrape out all the lips and stuff before I hit it with the carburetor cleaner. Start spraying my orifices down a little bit. Make sure you put on your safety squints when you do that. Get all that tarnish and varnish off here. Just be careful, don't go too crazy. These parts are fragile. Get all this gunk off of the float here, because if it's all that loose stuff, then it'll just break apart and clog and gel up all your other orifices. So we want to get this nice and clean before we put it back in. That's looking pretty good there. Set that over here to dry. Try to clean up this gasket, get it refreshed a little bit. And if the gasket were to leak or anything, I would just get a new one, but I'm just going to run it for now because I'm just trying to figure out if this motor is going to run, which I know it will. It's a Honda, so you can't kill these things. Okay, clean enough. Here's the jet. See how that sprays through that? That means it's clear. Still going back with my wire and making sure it's really nice though, because that's a very, very small orifice. All right, now next step is our pilot. Try to see if you guys can see this, but I will stick the straw in this hole, and then there's going to be spray coming out all these little tiny holes. It's hard to see. There we go. I plugged the hole and it's kind of misting everywhere. Okay, I'm going to get the compressor and spray this out. Okay, I got my brake clean. I'm going to throw a little in these orifices. And then I'm going to come with the compressed air. Shoot it through the holes. Whoa. Just like that. Here's the pilot jet. Main jet. And then just want to dry off all your parts and make them clean and look brand new again. This Keen carburetor, she gonna run again. Okay, now that we got everything cleaned up and everything looking somewhat brand new, we are going to reassemble. First thing we're going to put in is the pilot, and that goes in skinny side down, like that. And then what covers that is the main jet. Put it in like that, and then you thread it in. Don't reef down on it, it's brass, so just get it seated. Just get a little snug. Next, we're going to work with our float and needle. Make sure it's all unobstructed and it sits in the seat nicely. And then we're going to come back with our pin that I didn't clean. So just give that a little brush up, like that, buff it up. And then you're going to pick the float up slightly, slide it in just so gingerly, and there's no retainer or anything. It just sits in there freely. Now our next step is our refurbished gasket that looks very dry rotted, but we're going to go with it. And then last step is our bowl. Cover it like that. This is our bowl bolt. It has a gasket. Don't forget that. Put it on just like that. Start it with your hands if you can. And I'm gonna torque this by hand. My gun won't work anyway. Come back with a little T-handle, and that's all the love you need to give it. So now put on your choke. This is your choke lever that came off during disassembly. Sometimes it stays on, sometimes it doesn't. Doesn't really matter. And it goes here, right in the choke hallway. Put it on like that, and just make sure your choke has action. Choke on, choke off. This is your petcock for your fuel, so make sure that's free. I mean, we will be able to tell if we're getting fuel or not here soon enough. I didn't take this whole assembly out or anything like that. Maybe I'll take a look at it now that I'm right here with you. So that's really tight. I'm not going to do anything with that. We are ready to reassemble. Okay, now it's just time to reassemble. Your gasket stayed on there, so you're just going to slide your carburetor over your studs like this. Get everything out of the road. And as that's coming in, you want that to fully seat. And now we're going to look for where we got to put our levers back on and our governors. So slide it out a little bit. Then you're going to put your lever back in the groove like this, and it's going to slide in a slot right down like that. Find your pliers and your little governor spring. You're just going to pull up and put it in this tiny little hole here, just like that. Now you can slide your carburetor back all the way on, and while I'm here, I like to actually put my fuel line on because it's easier to get to. I slide my fuel line on like that. Actually, switch out to the straight pliers. It's nice to have the right tool for the job. Get that all the way down where you want it. Gingerly put the clamp on, like so. So now your fuel line's hooked up. I don't have any fuel in the tank right now. All my linkages are hooked up. I'm going to slide that all the way back. Now I'm going to put my outside gasket on. It goes a certain way. You can see it does have cutouts for, there's holes in here. Check to make sure your choke is working. It is. You can put the air box back on. I'd actually like to clean that air box, the back of it, before I do that. Okay, hit the back of the air box with the pressure washer to get all the grime off, because when I put stuff back together, I like to make it nice and fresh for myself. And you can't screw this one up. There's 2 holes. Slide it over the 2 holes. And on the back side, there's this little PCV port that fits right on. Put your 2 nuts on for your air box and what holds the carburetor on over the studs, and also another 10 millimeter that holds the air box. Now I'm just going to use a little T-handle here, tighten it by hand. Don't crush it with the torque, just go easy. That's that. Let's put all our air filter accessories back on. Air filter. I have a fresh one here. If this thing does run in my arsenal of stuff. 2 nuts, 1 wing nut to hold it on. And the top cover, another wing nut. That's that. Okay, this thing's ready to put some water to it and see if it fires up. Okay, now that we got the carb all straightened out, we're going to put some fresh fuel in here. This is actually 93. Whoa, no! Okay, we're just going to put it all over the driveway, I guess. Definitely not going to fill it up, because what if it doesn't start? Okay, that's plenty. That's just enough to get to the fuel pickup. Okay, fuel cap on. Hook up our pressure washer hose, the washer wand, hook up the water, turn on the water, okay, we have water coming through the hose. It is time to fire this girl. So, fuel on. I'm going to wait a second so the fuel can fill up the bowl. Fuel on, choke on, there's throttle, ignition on, give her a pull. Can't really beat that. Choke off. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked this video. I'm Ty Slim. This is Ty Slim Vlogs. And as always, stay positive.